An avid people's monarch smoker, the inner life of Denmark's Queen Margrethe, from opening her own supermarket store to working in a Netflix movie to a less than harmonious family relationship, including a husband who refused to be buried next to her. Known as the people's monarch, Margrethe goes supermarket shopping. She is an avid smoker and so normal that she shops in the supermarket, but Queen Margrethe of Denmark is also the longest reigning head of state in Europe. The monarch, who made headlines last year by stripping 4 of her son Prince Joachim's children of their royal titles, has been on the throne since 1972. She surpassed all other members of the royal family in the length of her reign when her third cousin, Queen Elizabeth II, died at age 96 last September, after 70 years as monarch. The couple had a close relationship, bonding over several state visits to each other's countries over the decades, most recently in 2000, when Margaret was welcomed into Windsor. Margrethe, now 83, attended Queen Elizabeth's funeral, but underwent major back surgery in February and was unable to attend the coronation. Today is her wedding anniversary with her late husband, Prince Henrik. She is an avid smoker and so normal that she shops at the supermarket, but Queen Margrethe of Denmark is also the longest reigning head of state in Europe. Above, the Queen lights up in 1997, left, and attending the annual New Year's Eve dinner at Christian VII's palace in Amalienborg, Copenhagen, in January. Margrethe had a close relationship with the Queen, growing closer during several official visits to each other's countries over the decades, most recently in 2000. When Margrethe was received at Windsor, above. Margrethe was born on April 16, 1940, a week after Nazi Germany invaded Denmark. The occupation meant that the little princess became a symbol of hope for the Danes. She ascended the throne on January 15, 1972, after her father's death. But although she was his eldest child, she did not become the intended heir until 1953, when the Danish constitution was amended to allow women to inherit the throne. This followed a referendum in which more than 85% of the participants voted to allow women to the throne. The day she became monarch, she appeared on the balcony of Christiansborg Palace in Denmark and swore allegiance to the nation. Wearing a black veil and dress adorned with the regalia of the Order of the Elephant and the family order of her father, King Frederick IX, pinned to her gown, the 31-year-old monarch declared, "My beloved father, our king, is dead. The task my father undertook for nearly 25 years now rests on my shoulders. I pray God to give me the help and strength to carry the heavy legacy. May the trust that was placed in my father be placed in me as well." Becoming Denmark's first queen since Margrethe I in the early 15th century, the monarch blazed a trail that continues to this day. A popular queen, she is known as the people's monarch for the fact that, in addition to shopping herself, she has a thriving career as an illustrator and designer, and until 2015 she defied convention by rocking up in public. In 2021, it was announced that she had been hired as a set designer for a Netflix film, where she would design the sets for an adaptation of Karen Blixen's romantic fantasy novel Out of Africa. One of Denmark's most internationally acclaimed writers. Margrethe also studied at 5 universities and is a staunch Anglophile. She spent a year at North Foreland Lodge boarding school in Hampshire and then went on to study prehistoric archaeology at Girton College, Cambridge. The then princess also studied at the London School of Economics in 1965. Speaking in an interview marking the Queen's Platinum Jubilee last June, Margrethe described how the Queen had made a great impression on her because of the way she has handled her responsibilities, how dedicated she is, and also because of the way she does it, with a smile. The pair are said to have used nicknames for each other. The Queen called her Danish counterpart Daisy, while Margrethe used Lilibeth, a name used by her immediate family. Margaret is known as Daisy or Aunt Daisy because the flower of the same name is known as Margarita in both Sweden and Denmark. Both monarchs also shared a love of dogs. The Queen was known for her love of corgis, of which she had more than 30, while Margrethe favored dachshunds. Queen Margrethe was related to her late Majesty through Queen Victoria, whose third son Prince Arthur, Duke of Connaught, was Margrethe's great-grandfather and great-uncle to Her Majesty. The House of Margrethe Glucksburg and the House of Windsor are also related by Margrethe's great-great-grandfather, Christian IX. His daughter Alexandra married Edward VII, the eldest son of Queen Victoria. He was the Queen's great-grandfather and the great-great-grandfather of King Charles III. Her Majesty first visited Denmark in 1957, when Margrethe's parents, King Frederick IX and Queen Ingrid, were on the throne. Her second trip in 1979 was remembered for an embarrassing moment when a Danish soldier was thrown from his horse during a parade in Copenhagen and Her Majesty cracked a smile. Margrethe pressed her palm to her mouth in embarrassment, but she couldn't hold back a smile either. Then another hussar had trouble controlling his horse, and jumped out of the rear of the troop before circling the royal carriage. Fortunately, the rest of the visit passed without further drama. When Margrethe visited Britain in 1974, the Queen greeted her with a joke, saying, "There was a time when the news of the Danes coming to our east coast was not good at all." On her second visit in 2000, she spoke of her sympathy for young British royalty, saying, "It is much easier to be a Prince of Denmark than a Prince of Wales. Our young people are left alone more often than young royalty in Britain." Margaret paid touching tribute to the Queen when she died last September before coming to Britain for her funeral. She was also close to the Duke of Edinburgh and expressed regret at his death at age 99 in April 2021. But despite her popularity at home and abroad, Margrethe's 50 years on the throne were not without controversy. Margrethe raised eyebrows when she said that living in Denmark does not make you Danish. Her husband Henrik, who died at age 83 in 2018, insisted that he did not want to be buried next to his wife, and his secretary said the decision was a natural consequence of not treating his wife equally. His wish was granted when he passed away, and his ashes were scattered in Danish waters and in the gardens of Fredensborg Palace. The director of public relations for the Danish royal house said at the time, "It was no secret that the prince had been unhappy with his role and title in the Danish monarchy for many years." For the prince, the decision not to be buried next to the Queen is a natural consequence of the unequal treatment of his consort and the lack of the title and role he desired. The couple experienced a tumultuous union when Henrik once left his country for several weeks after an argument. The couple met in London when Margaret was a student there. They married in 1967, and the following year they had their first son Frederick, the current heir to the throne. Then in 1969 Prince Joachim arrived. Earlier this year she explained her shocking decision to deprive Joachim's children, Prince Nicholas, age 23, Prince Felix, age 20, Prince Henrik, age 13, and Princess Athena, age 11, of their titles of prince and princess from their first marriage, which provoked an inappropriate family. Last October, she apologized for underestimating the degree to which Joachim and his family felt affected by her decision. Margrethe wants to shrink the Danish monarchy and reduce the number of working members of the royal family, and she said she would rather take action than leave the burden to her eldest son when he becomes king. In a February interview with the Danish publication Ekstra Bladet, she said, "It was important to me that Frederick never make that kind of decision. Better than me. Because then the old lady made the decision. I'm not burning to get into it, to be honest. I could mention some things, but you shouldn't be told everything. But it's still too personal to talk about. The children are now earls and countesses and are called their excellencies.